Right, good morning to everybody and welcome back to Thai Talk with Dan. Now, a few days ago, I released part one of a part 4 or 5-part story. It's definitely a long one, and it's about a guy's life that goes back in time, constantly coming back to Thailand from his own home country and trying to find a girlfriend in all the wrong places, literally getting involved with bar girls and freelancers, trying to make them his girlfriend. And it's a crazy, crazy journey. And it's not just this guy that does this. Many guys, even today, are doing it. They are coming over here to Thailand. They are falling in love with a working girl here in Thailand that's just looking at these guys as a customer and a way to support herself. And these guys are falling for them hook, line, and sinker. So this story just goes to show what men get up to when they come here to Thailand. So without further delay, let's jump into part 2 of this guy's long Thailand story. My first Thai massage experience was in Chiang Mai, and it was not an enjoyable one. I went to a massage place near Taipei Gate and was given some thin and loose Thai clothing to change into. I wasn't sure whether I was supposed to remove my underwear or not, but I did so. The masseuse I was given was a teen schoolgirl, and she led me to a room where many people were receiving massages. As I was laying face down, I got turned by the hands of the girl all over my body, and the inevitable happened. I deeply regretted then taking off my underpants. I was dreading the time when I would have to turn over. Worse was to come, when 2 of the masseuse's schoolgirl friends came and sat either side of me whilst they chatted to their friend. In desperation, I slipped my hands beneath my legs and nipped myself as hard as I could. I tried to concentrate on the pain rather than the girls. It worked. And by the time I turned onto my back, much embarrassment had been averted. Not a very relaxing experience though. Now, I spent a night or 2 visiting bars before lust drew me back to Sakodern. This time I chose one of the more expensive girls called Mem. She was also young and cute and possessed 0 English language ability. I spent a few nights with her while she was happy to go places with me on an evening. She too would leave in the morning, meaning I was alone and bored in the daytime. This was even more true given that by now my money was running low and I could only afford to pay for Mem every other day. Mem said she was from Chiang Rai, just as Yok had said before her. Whether this was true or whether the girls were really from Myanmar, I don't know. So, with my 4-week holiday drawing to a close, I went back by overnight coach to Pattaya. Travelling in this way meant I saved money because I couldn't pay for a girl for the night whilst on the coach. I spent a night or 2 around the bars of Pattaya before getting a bus to Bangkok the day before I had to fly home. I knew now that takeaway brothels such as Sakodern were ubiquitous all over Thailand. The Thais call them Ban Pu Ying, literally lady homes. On my final night in Thailand, I got a tuk-tuk driver to take me to a lady home in Bangkok. Where he took me was the Sutisan area. On the way back in the tuk-tuk with the girl I'd chosen, I saw a new area of bars with sexy looking girls outside that I had never heard of before. I tried to memorize the location, but it was difficult. I later found out it was Sutisan Winachai Road, an entertainment area predominantly frequented by Thai men. I paid 1,500 baht for the girl from the lady home. Back in my room, she told the real price should have been 700 baht for the night. Now, I worked at my job for almost all of 1992 without any days off. I knew I would be returning to Thailand many times in the future, and I knew the type of girls I liked in Thailand did not speak good English, so I resolved to learn to speak Thai. I bought the Thai Linguaphone course and studied every day after work. By the end of the year, I knew the whole course inside out. Now, there was only one Asian girl where I worked, a Chinese girl named Shui. She kept my mind off Thailand for a while. Inevitably, I was soon hopelessly in love with her. We went on a few dates and she knew how I felt, but I was not in her future plans. In August of 1992, she left to go and live in Hong Kong, and we stayed in touch by mail. Now, in December of 1992, I flew to Thailand for the 4th time. This was to be my longest trip yet, using all my annual leave, bank holidays and flexi time that I had built up. I was able to go for 6 weeks. I went straight from Bangkok to Pattaya. Whilst walking around the first evening, I was stopped by an old man who asked if I wanted to get a girl. I understood he wanted to take me to a lady home, so off we went. Now, the lady home that he took me was called Try One, Free One, bar beer, and it wasn't far away by foot. The girls I was shown were all sat down on some red carpeted steps. I chose a girl named Pom and paid the 500 baht. We spent the next 2 weeks together. They were the best 2 weeks of my holiday. Seeing as my hotel was not up to her usual standards, Pom told me about a deal the lady home had with a much nicer hotel, only 650 baht per night for girl plus a room in a good hotel. It was a real bargain, and we changed hotel our first full day together. Now, unlike the girls from Sakodern, Pom was happy to stay with me 24 hours per day. Every evening, she'd take me to a disco where she would meet up with the other girls from Taiwan, and they would all dance together in a circle. I would sit and watch while sipping on a soft drink. The other Taiwan girls would also bring their boyfriends, most of whom were Arabs. I talked to these Arabic men. Some of them were with their wives and children in Pattaya, and these Arabs like to book 2 adjacent rooms in a hotel, one for their family and one for themselves and their Thai girlfriend. They said their wives didn't care because they knew their husbands were only having a bit of fun and would not be leaving them for any Thai girl. The Arabs said they would lie to the Thai girls, promising them that the next day they would buy them gold jewellery or take them to an island. They did this so the girls would give them a good time that night, or so they said. It's hard to believe the girls would fall for such lies more than once. Now, on New Year's Eve, Taiwan held a party in the garden outside their building. Apart from the girls, the owners and a few Thai heavies, me and a young Japanese guy were the only guests. For once, I drank alcohol, and it was a great party. At one point, I sneaked off to have a look around inside and see what everything looked like behind the scenes. I bumped into one of the girls who told me what a great life she had, only eating and doing aerobics. She didn't sound convinced. Now, not long after New Year, I took Pom to Bangkok. I had the idea that I would look for a programming job so that I would not have to return to the UK. We stayed in a cheap guest house in Khao San. Much like Pranom before her, Pom was not happy with the accommodation. This was hard for me to understand because the girls must have been used to far worse when they were growing up in their village. But after one night in Bangkok, Pom made me return to Pattaya. Now, I doubt I could have found a job in Bangkok anyway. I liked to look through the vacancies section of the Bangkok Post every day, but it was very rare for me to see a job for which I was qualified. Maybe because of Pom's immature attitude in Bangkok, I was starting to get bored with her. After a few more days in Pattaya, I told her I wanted to go to Chiang Mai alone, that I'd be gone for a fortnight and then I would come back to her. She had fallen for me a little by this time and was a little upset that I was leaving. She saw me off from the Pattaya bus station as I left on the overnight coach. So, I spent 2 weeks in Chiang Mai. I went most evenings to a lady home. Apart from Sakodern, there were 2 others I was shown by tuk-tuk drivers. One was called Sawang. I don't remember the name of the other. I didn't have a good time. Despite my now passable Thai language skills, the girls always left me in the morning. I didn't like this because I wanted to do things with the girls the next day. I wanted a true girlfriend experience. In fact, I actually wanted a girlfriend. Now the girl I remember the most from Sawang, but she was way too young and not exactly shy, though as the minute we were through my hotel room door, she pushed me onto the bed and pulled my trousers down. She said she had never seen a naked Falang before. She was very pretty and actually keen to spend time with me, but she made me feel like a P for sure. So, after a walk around the night market, I took her back to Sawang. The guy at Sawang was a little surprised when I took her back. He said she was usually popular with the customers because she was so small in the right place and that I was too nice to be taking girls from a lady home. Maybe he was right. Delusioned, I decided one evening to book a coach ticket back to Pattaya and headed to Arcade. After I'd booked the ticket, a middle-aged Thai guy about 40 years old called me over to the table where he was sat drinking whiskey. He asked in English if I wanted to go to his house and meet his family. He seemed harmless, so I thought, why not? So I got behind him on his motorbike, and another guy got on behind me. So we headed away from Arcade and the streetlights. I was wary for a short time, but soon enough we reached a lit street and his house was at the end of it. The guy's name was Prem. He introduced me to his Thai wife Nom and their 2 daughters, Pensri and Pla, who at the time were aged 15 and 12. Prem had his own construction business. The guy who had got on the motorbike behind me was one of his workers who slept in a ramshackle hut at the bottom of Prem's garden. Prem became the only Thai friend who I have ever really had. So I spent the evening with his family and returned the next evening for dinner before I caught my coach. On all subsequent visits to Chiang Mai, I would go to see Prem and his family. He worked Monday to Saturday, but on Sunday he had a family outing in his pickup truck to which I was invited and I often went along. Now, on my return to Pattaya, I hooked up with Pom again. She was a really nice girl who would have made a good girlfriend, but she knew I'd been with other girls in Chiang Mai and the magic was gone. After 3 more days together, I left for Bangkok. Now, I hadn't spent much time in Bangkok since the first 2 nights of my trip, but I was no longer the shy boy who had arrived over 2 years before. I went to Soy Cowboy, stone cold sober. In fact, the only time I drank alcohol during the entire trip was at the New Year's party. I'd never been in a go-go bar before and enjoyed the experience. The big advantage of taking a girl from a go-go bar rather than a regular bar is that you get a very good idea of what the girl has to offer. So I ended up with a girl from Pink Pussycat called Ice. I spent the night with her and asked in the morning if she wanted to go to Pattaya with me. She said that she did, so I headed back to Pattaya with her in tow. I had to pay her bar fine plus her own price, 1,000 baht, every day. She was good fun and liked to go out and party. For sure, in my always sober state, I was too boring for her. We spent in total 1 week together. She'd take me to tourist places on a rented motorcycle and I enjoyed my time with her. Eventually, she announced she wanted to go back to Bangkok alone because I didn't take care of her enough. Translation, I wouldn't spend a lot of money on her. No hard feelings, so I decided to go to Bangkok too. So I was down to only 3 more nights in Thailand. I headed back to Soy Cowboy and a fresh go-go bar that evening. I asked a mama-san in Tirak bar to pick me a good girl from the dancers on the stage, and she delivered. The girl she introduced me to was called Ari. I loved the 3 days I spent with her. Definitely naughty, but nice. All of the bar girls I ever met, Ari was the one I liked the best. The bed in my hotel was so noisy, I had to dismantle it and put the mattress on the floor. Ari did have a great personality. She was with friends with John Denver, who she'd met backstage after attending a concert he'd done in Bangkok. They had got on well, and she had shown him around Bangkok the next day. Sometimes they would speak on the phone whilst I was there. It was typical that I would meet someone I really liked just before I was due to leave Thailand. I got Ari's address and promised that I would go back to see her again as soon as possible. And as soon as possible turned out to be pretty soon. So I left Thailand at the end of January 1993 and was back again for a 3-week vacation at Easter time. I exchanged love letters with Ari in the meanwhile. Now, predictably, once I was in Bangkok with Ari again, the honeymoon period didn't last long. After about a week, Ari said she had to go somewhere for a night. I told her one night was okay, but if it became longer, I would not be staying alone. By the second evening, she had still not returned. So I went to Sutisan to find a girl from a lady home, a very sweet and pretty girl. Early the next morning, there was a knock on my hotel room door. It was Ari. She feigned anger at finding another girl in my room, though I strongly suspected she had been with another guy the previous 2 nights. The relationship was soured, and we only spent one more night together. The parting was so bad that she threatened to kill me if she ever saw me again. Now, I wasn't very concerned about the death threat, but broken-hearted again and feeling in need of a break from Thai girls, I decided it would be a good idea to fly to Hong Kong and pay a surprise visit to Shui, the Chinese girl who I had worked with until she emigrated the previous summer. The correspondence address where I'd been writing to her turned out to be a small shop. At the shop, they knew of her and gave me her telephone number. I called her and arranged dinner that night. It was nice to see her again, apart from the fact she brought along her long-time Chinese boyfriend. This was the first time I had heard of him. Unbeknownst to me, the reason she had gone to Hong Kong was to be with him. She said we could meet again at the weekend, which was a few days away, and I saw little point waiting to meet her again, so I flew back to Bangkok. And Shui never replied to my letters after that. I expect her boyfriend forbade it. Now, for the remainder of my holiday, I played around with many girls in Bangkok and Pattaya. I went to Sutisan to visit the bars I had seen on my first tuk-tuk journey to a lady home. After going in a couple of go-go bars and not seeing a girl that I liked, I got a motorbike taxi to take me to a lady home. In the place he took me to, some of the girls looked about 10 years old. I chose one of the older looking girls, but she refused to go with me, saying, "Farang, too big." And I wasn't about to pick one of the underage girls beaming at me, so I returned to the go-go bars and took a girl from one of them. In my room, she was very interested in a copy of Chinese Playboy that I had brought back from Hong Kong. I wouldn't let her have it because I knew it would only end up as a gift to her boyfriend. Now, my first night in Pattaya, I went to a lady home which fronted as Nina Karaoke. So when I choose a girl, the guy in charge advised me to choose again. He wouldn't give a reason, so I stuck with my original choice. The first night I discovered why the manager had said this girl was not a good choice. During the night, she wet the bed. Nevertheless, I spent 3 days with her. Sometimes we do things with her sister too, who was also a Nina girl. After the third night of being peed on, I had enough. So despite liking her, we went back to Nina karaoke and I chose another girl. Her sister was available, so I chose her. Big mistake. Now, because of my rejection of her sister, this girl was determined not to give me a good time. I took her back and got a refund. After I left, I walked past a real karaoke place. A mama-san and 4 pretty girls were sat outside. The mama-san asked if I wanted to take any of the girls back to my room, and 2 of them were extremely good looking, so I said yes. The price was 1,500 baht, but she only stayed a couple of hours when I thought I would be getting all night. Nevertheless, she was so fit, I did go back to the karaoke joint again to see her the next night. She led me to the side of the building, kissed me, and said that she was sorry, but she couldn't go with me again. The mama-san asked if I wanted to take any of the other girls instead. I was very tempted, but after my experience with the 2 sisters, I chose not to. I decided instead to spend a few nights with Pom again. At least she was always happy to spend time and visit places with me. Now, my final night I spent in Bangkok and took a girl called B from Soy Cowboy. For the first and last time, I did as the Arabs had advised me and told this girl that I had just arrived in Thailand and would take her to an island the next day. I felt bad when the next day arrived and I told B I had lied to her and I was in fact leaving Thailand that day. And I never lied like that again to any girl. On my last afternoon, I went to see Ari again as I didn't want to leave Thailand without being on good terms with her. We had dinner together and I regretted not returning to her as soon as I got back from Hong Kong. Now, I planned to return to Thailand at the end of the year, and fate decided otherwise. In the summer of 1993, whilst in the back garden of the house I lodged in, I got talking to a woman whose garden backed onto mine. She was a district nurse who used the computer software that I worked on. Among other things, we talked about Thailand, and I lent her a book called Hello, My Big, Big Honey, which was a collection of love letters sent between Falang and Thai bar girls. She returned the book a few days later when I was out. The next day, I logged into her hospital's computer and sent her a message. The message read simply, "Thank you for returning the book. What did you think of it?" And the act of sending the message cost me my job. Now, I was accustomed to logging into the computers of NHS hospitals and the many times every day to fix bugs or send messages to the hospital's IT staff. The messages were usually updates on bugs that they had reported. I thought nothing of sending an innocent message to a district nurse. I've always been a naive person, thinking that if I intended no harm would come to me. The nurse's story was that a supervisor was sat with her and saw the message. Perhaps she reported me herself. Either way, a complaint was received by my managers. Following a hearing into my actions, I ended up losing my job for breach of the 1980 Computer Misuse Act. I should have paid more attention to the introductory talks that I had been given when I started 2.5 years earlier. I was strictly only allowed to access hospital computers for work-related purposes. Now, the hearing into my conduct was headed by the manager in charge of my computer department. He was good friends with the head of the hospital IT department that wanted my dismissal. I didn't stand a chance and was summarily dismissed. Now, I had the right to appeal against my dismissal, which I did. I was then effectively suspended on full pay pending my appeal hearing. It was fortunate for me that the manager in charge of my department, who led my first hearing, suddenly left the NHS. It was well known that the reason for his abrupt departure was that he had been caught embezzling from the NHS. For this, he was given the chance to resign and a golden handshake. One rule for the managers, another for us underlings. 3 months after my initial dismissal, I won my appeal and I was reinstated. Now, after the way I had been treated, my heart was no longer in my job. I was a little over a year away from my 30th birthday and was going through a bit of a midlife crisis too. I wanted to leave and go to Thailand for a long time, but I didn't have enough money saved and I wanted a place of my own in my hometown to come back to. Firstly, however, I wanted to return to Thailand for another 3-week holiday, and this took place around Easter 1994, a year after my previous trip. I was still writing frequently to Emmy, the Japanese girl who had seen me off from Fukuoka airport 3.5 years prior. She wanted to meet me in Thailand and booked a night to Bangkok, followed by 3 nights in Phuket to coincide with the last 4 nights of my Thailand stay. This time, it was straight to Chiang Mai and Sakodern. I chose a girl named and spent all my holiday with her until it was time to go to Bangkok and see Emmy. Was quiet, like me. We did all the usual Chiang Mai things together, like elephant riding, visiting Doi Suthep Temple and the Orchid Garden and Butterfly Farm. If I'd married a nice girl like my life might have turned out much simpler and happier, but I didn't get her details to try and stay in touch. So on my 2 Sundays in Chiang Mai, I visited Prem and went on day trips with him, his family, and his workers. Now, when I met Emmy in Bangkok, she had come with 2 girlfriends. On our evening in Bangkok, I wanted to show them Soy Cowboy, probably a stupid idea in hindsight. It was difficult to get there because every taxi we got in would take us to a karaoke joint instead. The Japanese girls were on a package holiday with hotels and flights included. The hotels were way more expensive than the budget hotels I continued to stay in. Fortunately, there was space on the girls' flight to Phuket, so I was able to get on the same plane. And at Phuket airport, the girls were met by a male Thai guide who was to take them to their hotel. He gave me the name of the hotel and I arranged to meet the girls there that evening after I had found a cheaper hotel for myself. Now, when I went to the girls' hotel, the Thai guide had told me the receptionist said there was no record of my Japanese friends staying there. The Thai guide had lied, presumably because he wanted me out of the way. With no possible way to contact my friend, I returned to my own budget room. It was my first time in Phuket, so I did a bit of research and headed to Bangla Road. I soon met a freelancer in a bar and took her to another bar with sexy shows. Her name was Mali. She was half Thai and half Indian and worked daytime in a French restaurant. So back in my hotel room, she was too excited for me. Every time I woke up, she would jump on me again. So soon, I had to pretend that I was asleep, even when I wasn't. Right, guys, let us know what you think about this story so far down below. There's a lot of guys that do this. They come here and they just get involved with these working girls, and it fails miserably unless the guys are filthy rich and they're willing to keep throwing money and gifts at them constantly. And even then, you can't really trust them because they are a working girl, and a lot of them have many mental health issues, emotional issues, etc. And it can be a real problem. When these girls are working every day, basically selling themselves to any Tom, Dick, or Harry, it can have a massive effect on your emotional and mental state. And then when you're coming as a customer and wanting these women to be interested in you and wanting to spend time with you, and all they really want is your money, you're off your heads. Guys, tune in for part 3, which I'll record today and I will upload tomorrow. Apart from that, look after yourselves. Don't try to find a girlfriend who's a freelancer or a bar girl. You will just have a world of nightmares. Take it easy and ciao for now. Bye-bye.